to a new episode of Front Row. Today, we are in conversation with Mr. Thulci Aluwihare, the Deputy Managing Director of CHEC Port City Colombo Private Limited. And Thulci will be here talking with us about the strategic role of the flagship project CHEC Port City in terms of driving Sri Lanka's FDI as well as economic growth. Welcome to the show, Thulci.
Hi, Jayani. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Thulci, we have seen a lot of development in the port city in the last 12 months in terms of passing a new act, then setting up a new commission as well as reclamation of land. So, in terms of physical infrastructure development in the port city, what are we to really expect in the next 12 to 18 months? And do you think there will be any new regulations in place to complement the existing law?
Yes. So, in terms of the reclamation activity, we completed reclaiming 269 hectares, 2.7 square kilometer in 2019. We've commenced all internal infrastructure, utilities, roadways, beach, park, landscaping, all that work. And most of that is going to be completed by mid next year. Obviously, timelines will still depend on how COVID spans out. So the missing piece in that was for us to go and actively market Port City was the required competitive, business-friendly laws and regulations. Enactment of the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Act of 2021 was quite progressive. However, that is only a framework. So what we need is now detailed laws or regulations under the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Act. So what we will see in the next, I would say 6 to 12 months is some of these regulations to be approved first by the concurrence of the President and then the Cabinet and goes to Parliament, so that we can now go out there and speak to some of these businesses who want to come and set up here, use Port City to do business elsewhere. So that's the real objective. From a physical infrastructure perspective, within the next 6 months, you will see the first development within Port City with an investment of about close to 500 million, which is the Colombo International Financial Center Tower. That includes a mixed-use development which has residential, service apartments, office tower with a retail podium, and also there is a yacht marina within Colombo Port City, and you will see the commercial activities, retail activities taking place along the yacht marina. Plus, hopefully, we will be able to also break ground for the hotel next to the yacht marina.
Thank you, Thulci. So we have seen a lot of excitement about Port City's potential to attract FDI into the country, and so recently we saw that the PwC also coming up with an estimate that the Port City, once it's fully operational, can add about US $13.4 billion into Sri Lanka's GDP. So in terms of FDI attraction into the Port City in the next 12 to 18 months, is there an estimation that you can share with us?
Yeah, so the FDI in terms of the estimation is threefold. One is during reclamation stage and infrastructure development. That is a commitment by us, the project company, of 1.4 billion. Of that 1.4 billion, to date we have invested 1.2 billion. It's a pure FDI. Second stage is FDI required to develop the Port City. When I say develop, this refers to the vertical development, to develop buildings, offices, hotels based on a master plan. And third is more recurring. The first two types is one-off FDIs. Once the infrastructure is in place, including the required vertical development, when businesses come and set up, once the Port City is operational, the recurring impact to Sri Lankan GDP, as estimated by PwC, is about 13 billion, and I would imagine it's quite a substantial contribution to the country's GDP. I guess we have to look at it in a perspective that if we are not successful in completing Port City, as a lack of opportunity because the asset is now there. All we need to do is to try and monetize it, and we hope that with the COVID challenges, with the country's macro challenges, we will still be able to really go out there and market Sri Lanka, Colombo, Port City as a destination for businesses to come and set up, because I need to kind of also give a distinction between businesses and primary developers who will come and put up the infrastructure. You need to be able to position Port City for businesses to come and set up here so that the primary developers will make that investment required to put up the office towers. So that's why we are so keen to speak to some of the large brands around the world to try and understand in their decision making what would really make them expand or relocate to Colombo, so that those information can be fed to the Commission and the regulation drafting can be very much market driven.
Yes. We have seen Port City being really discussed as a new kind of a model which will really, drive ease of doing business and, provide facilitation for investors who are coming into the Port City. So do you think this kind of, facilitation can really spill into other economic sectors in Sri Lanka as well? And also, do you think that Port City would be a good model for us to really consider in terms of, developing the Sri Lankan economy?
I definitely sincerely believe so, because many SEZs around the world have failed and succeeded. If the political goals take precedent over economic goals, you're doomed to fail. So therefore, Port City, with the enactment of the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Act, can be really a reform tool for rest of Sri Lanka. It can be really a policy test bed in a controlled environment where some of these policies can be rolled out to suit only within Port City. And once you get it right, you roll it out in rest of Sri Lanka. That can be in different pockets like the BOI industrial zones. So similarly, because the law has the flexibility to expand the geographic location beyond Port City. So I sincerely hope that the SEZ law and the subsequent regulations will act as a reform tool. And I'm not saying that we will get it right in the first instances, but these can be tested. But the impact is only within Port City to somewhat. And then once you kind of get it right, I'm sure we can roll it out in the rest of Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much. So I think it has been a very insightful discussion with you, Thulci, and you specifically mentioned that it is a reform tool and that if we implement it the right way, if we test it within the Port City model right way, that we can definitely have spillover effects into other sector and will really see a game change in terms of economic development in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for joining with us.
Jayani. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Stay tuned with us for similar episodes of Front Row.